Hey, what's going on, fam? Welcome back to another episode of Peggy and Don Stays Ready. Because if you stay ready, you won't have to get ready. Now, this channel will be exclusively on content of helping you guys be prepared for any kind of emergency that may come or that may impact you. We feel this is extremely important these days, at least as important or maybe even more important since the pandemic. We've seen a lot of indications, a lot of signs to make us realize that we should be getting back into what we were doing a while back. Now in episode 1, we talked about getting your emergency pantry started. That's where you're going to have your food with long shelf life and just finding a good spot for it. Review episode 1 in the link below. But in this episode, we're going to start finding some of the items to load up into that emergency pantry. I'm taking Peggy to the grocery store in about an hour. Right now I'm walking DJ, enjoying some of the sunlight. I don't even need this hoodie. But we're going to be taking Peggy to the grocery store, and hopefully I can get some insight from her about some of the things, because she was really big in like planning our meals and making sure we had good plans for our emergency prep, at least on the food side. Now I need to make sure I reiterate that being prepared for emergencies is much more than having food set aside. But that's what we dedicate our first 2 episodes to, because that's what people usually think about when they talk about emergency preps. But there's so much more to it, like protection, making sure you have enough water. What do you do when the power goes out? What if there's a health emergency? What do you do about medications, dog food, fires, flood, tornadoes? So much more stuff. What if you lose shelter? All kinds. And there's so many things you need to be prepared for. But like I said, we're focusing on episodes 1 and 2 about the Prepper's Pantry. And I've been going back and forth about what I want to talk about in episode 3. I think I'm going to focus on why I believe it's so important. I've been trying to figure out a way to bring this to you guys without sounding so, there's no other way to say it, without sounding so political. But there's really not much of a way to say it. The times we're living in is going to require me to step on a few toes and maybe hurt a little bit of feelings and stuff. But it's extremely important that I do it. So I'm going to take that chance, and I'm going to talk to y'all about that. But that's in episode 3. So I'm going to finish walking DJ, and then I'm going to take Peggy to the grocery store, and I'll talk to you in the car. All right, fam. Hey, what's going on, fam?
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. There she is, fam. A lot of y'all been asking about her. Like, what's Peggy been up to? How's Peggy doing? How you doing, babe?
I'm amazing.
She's amazing.
How about you?
We're doing good. So this is, like I said earlier, this is part 2, this is episode 2 of our preparations, and we're focusing on our groceries and stuff. So we're here at the grocery store. Peggy's about to go in and get a few items for the house, some stuff for the pantry, mostly stuff for our daily living and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to start the video out by talking about some of the questions we normally get about what to put in our pantry. Now, what most people seem to want is like a grocery list, like a PDF of all the items you should be buying and stuff. But we strongly believe that would be a big mistake. If you just try to get everything that everybody else gets, and you're ignoring some important stuff. Now, Well-Armed Wife, great name, by the way. She gave a few good points. I'm gonna put it up here, but basically what she's saying is you need to get foods that your family likes, that you know how to cook, and you'll be able to cook in any kind of situation. So Peggy and I, we know our staples, rice and flour. We're gonna get some meats that we know can last a long time on the shelf. Like, I like Spam, Vienna sausages and stuff like that. Peggy knows how to make biscuits. Like 2 ingredient biscuits and stuff like that. And these are the kind of things that we have to be individualized for you. So I'm gonna give you some pointers on what kind of things you should be trying to start off with, but you really should be looking to your community and trying to decide like what we like to cook and what we're gonna do if things get a little bad. Like, are you gonna have water available? Do you require electricity to cook your food and stuff like that? What if the power's out? Clean water. What if the gas is out? Say you got gas stove. What if gas is out? How are you going to be able to cook your food? That kind of stuff needs to be taken into account. And of course, shelf life.
I would just like to interject here for just a moment, because as he's talking about this, I'm thinking about when we grew up way back in the 60s and 70s, when sometimes you didn't have a lot, but you had to feed a lot of people. Struggle meals. I always talk about struggle meals. So I told Donald, I was like, so in the beginning of things, we'll be okay. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like in the beginning of things, we'll be okay because we got the rice, the flour, we got this, that, and the third. But then when your things get low, what do? So I told Donald you should incorporate struggle meals, meals that will stretch out. Right now, you have to see how you're eating. You're eating 3 strong meals a day. You can't say to yourself, oh, when this happens, I'll go down to 2 meals a day, when you haven't been practicing that. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be hard to do. So you have to go into it realistically. That's how I like to look at it. You know, if stuff hits the fan, you can always cook canned foods. You know, you can always build a fire and cook a canned meal. I wouldn't try to make elaborate meals. You're not trying to make meatloaf and fried chicken and, you know, stuff like lasagnas, and you're not trying to make that kind of stuff. You're trying to make foods that will last and will sustain you. So that's why I tell Donald, I was like, I get ramen noodles because you can always boil a pot of water. You can start a fire anywhere. So those are shelf-stable items. You know what I'm saying? Like a ramen noodle, a canned good, you know. But you just have to make your meal stretch is what I'm saying. So you can put some things together to stretch it. So if I make beans, I'll add a little rice to it. That's going to sit with you for a little while. So think about meals like that, like just very satisfying meals. Yeah, you can put peanut butter on crackers, you can put peanut butter on bread. You know, it's just so much that you could do.
Yeah, a lot of one of the common mistakes that we used to hear about when we was prepping last time was, well, if things does get that bad, we'll just eat whatever. And if you start thinking with that kind of mindset, a lot of your food will go to waste. You'll have a whole bunch of items on your shelves that you're like, well, this will last a long time. And so if we are hungry, it's good to have some things that last a long time. But
It is.
if you're not going to eat it,
Yeah.
it will eventually expire, and you're going to have to just end up getting rid of it, and it's going to go to waste.
Well, I mean, if things get bad.
Nah.
If things get bad, you'll eat what you eat.
You'll eat what you eat.
But since you're preparing, you
There
should
you
get the
go.
things that you like. I mean, because I've had to do stuff like that. We ate potted meat and stuff like that growing up. You think I liked that?
I didn't know you ever ate potted meat.
Yeah, we used to mix it with eggs
Okay.
on bread or toast or whatever you could do. You know, you have to make your food stretch.
Yeah.
So that's what I told Donald. 3 to 6 months, amazing. Donald will tell you all about how we rotate the shelves and stuff like that to just keep it going. But this time we're not going to stop prepping. We're going to always.
Yes.
Like right now we're in temporary living, but when we get permanent, we're going to make it bigger and better. But for right now and for what we have and for what we may have to use it for,
Yes.
we are perfect. You got to get the water. You got to get and I'm telling you right now, get that tub, buddy, for water. You won't know how much you need water until you don't have it.
Yeah.
Even as far as washing your clothes or boiling a pot of water for tea or coffee and stuff like that. But get the things that you like. Get the things that you like. Treat yourself every now and again. But as I told Donald, I was like, we're going to take $25, $50 per week, and we're going to feel. That's how we started the first time. You'll be surprised how that adds up over time. So when we first started our pantry, it was like very small. We didn't have anything. And I was like, well, I'm only going to get the stuff we need because I'm not going to do this, that, and third. And somebody wrote and they was like, no, get the things that you like. That's why you're preparing.
Yes.
And so that opened the door for me. And so now we went hard with ours. We went $75 a week. We went $75 to $100 a week for straight 3-4 months. We did it, and we ended up with a grocery store. When somebody say buy one get 4 free, I'm going to get all 5 of those items. You know what I'm saying? And look at Amazon. Amazon has coupons too. When you're shopping on Amazon for stuff, like we got 2 huge boxes of crackers for $4. I got tea, gallon bags of tea. I got 30 gallons of tea for $4.58. So, you know, there are things out there that you can get, and you should. So I'm not good with couponing. I never have been, but when I go to the store and it says buy 2, get 2 free, I'm going to do it every time. We don't have much freezer space for meats and stuff like that, so we have to do canned meats, and I'm okay with it. And just start practicing, because you don't have to have meat with every meal to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about how you can survive and practice it. If you feel like you need to go down to 2 meals a day, start practicing and see how well you hang out with them 2 meals a day. Because we told ourselves that.
Yeah.
We was like, we'll go down to 2 meals a day, and then if it gets really low, we'll go to 1 meal a day. You can't do that now. How you gonna do it then? But you just think it through.
Think it through.
Yeah, it's logical when you think about it. So
Peggy, I'm telling you now, Peggy would never disappoint. She has so much information, and she touched on a lot of things. Fam, let me go ahead and show you what we got and what we've done, and then we'll be back. All right. Hey, what's going on, fam? So we are back, and as I promised in the car, I want to try to help you build a grocery list for your family based on some areas you should be considering. Now, what I'm going to be sharing with you are the decision that Peggy and I have made, and we believe that you should be able to get some good information from this. Okay? Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list or something that we said you need to have or anything like that. And we're going to tell you what we're doing, and then we're going to give you the reasons for it. That's how we're going to do it. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to break it down in 3 categories. We're going to have our starches, our carbohydrates, we're going to have our proteins, and we're going to have our vitamin-rich veggies. So let's start with the starch. First thing we bought was rice. We got 2 5-pound bags of rice. We froze it, put it inside of a food safe container with a bay leaf. It actually keeps growth and eggs from hatching and moving around inside your rice. Rice, if you put it in a little clear plastic bag, is not going to last as long as it could, because now you're letting light in. The plastic has let too much air in and that kind of stuff. So plastic bags are good for short-term storage, but for long-term storage, I would suggest something more robust. Now, when you talk about starches, a lot of people are like, hey, my family don't do carbs. Hey, if you don't do carbs, you don't do carbs, but you're going to need energy, and so you need to find your energy sources. I'm not going to try to preach any certain lifestyle or any other eating challenges that you may face, but Peggy and I, we're going to have rice, we're going to have pastas, we're going to have our flour. Pasta is another thing. They come in little thin cardboard boxes. Those are good for short term, but that is not a great way to maintain freshness for long-term storage. So I would suggest something that's more airtight, something that's more robust and thicker to store your pastas, your flour, and everything else. All right, let's move on to the proteins now. Once again, not trying to preach a certain lifestyle. There's a lot of people who are vegetarians, vegans, or whatever else it is. The choices that Peggy and I have made, we're going to rely heavily on canned meats because of the freezer space. We don't have big time freezer space. So we're going to be looking at things like Spam, treat, potted meat, like you said, Vienna sausages. These are not the healthiest choices. They have a lot of salt in them, but they store for a long period of time, and we know how to cook them, and I enjoy eating them, and Peggy is willing to eat the stuff. So that's why that choice fits for us. Now, you don't have to have meats to have proteins. There are other ways of getting proteins. It's like peanuts, peanut butter, beans, lentils, chia peas, all kind of other ways of getting your protein. But protein, maintaining your strength, I believe is very important. So you look at the options out there and make a decision that is best for you and your family. Finally, I want to talk about the vitamin-rich vegetables. You got to have vitamins. You're going to need a variety of foods. Now, for our veggies, Peggy and I have chosen to go with canned goods. It is as simple as that. Once again, we know this is not the healthiest choice, but this was a decision based on the amount of space that we have, and we don't have a garden. I would love it if we had like a big garden in the backyard, maybe a couple acres that we can grow some broccolis and some peppers and some lettuces and cabbages and greens and stuff like that. But that is not in our current life situation. So you have to prepare for where you are, and then as conditions change, maybe you can update your preparations and stuff. So like I said, we're doing canned goods. It's easy, simple, and it's stored for a very, very long time. Somebody made a point in the comments, that's why I love comments so much, that don't fall for the whole dented can storage thing. Sometimes people say, well, still, dented doesn't make a difference, but dented can actually influence how long your canned goods can last, or how long they'll remain fresh. So maybe try to avoid that, but hey, all I can tell you is, do what you want to do. Do what you do. So yeah, so I would suggest not doing dented canned goods. Now, canned veggies, people do canning on their own. People like to get some fresh vegetables from their garden and can them themselves, vacuum canning. There's a whole slew of other channels where people have been able to homestead and create canned vegetable that stores for a very, very long time. But it still must be stored correctly, and they could probably share a lot of that with you guys. So, to recap, you want your starches, if that's what you have. You want to find your protein sources, and you want your vitamin-rich veggies. If you don't have a garden, or if you don't have freezer space for frozen goods, the use of freezers in prepping is a very controversial subject. A lot of people are like, hey, yeah, you can freeze vegetables for a very long time. We used to enjoy freezing eggs, but like I said, if we get into a bigger space, we'll start freezing eggs again. Very, very good way of storing eggs for a very long time. But of course, freezers require permanent power sources and stuff, and a lot of people be like, what are you going to do when the power goes out? So that is something to take into consideration. But the more options you have, the more prepared you are for whatever situation may come up. So like I said, diversify if you can, but find ways of getting all the nutrients and everything that your family will need. I really hope this information helped you out in making your own grocery list. In the next video, I'm going to be talking more about why we're doing this and what kind of signs we've seen to make us realize that this is important. So until then, I just want to thank you guys for joining us, and remind you guys to go out there and do something good for yourself and for others as well. Y'all take it easy, fam.